So the next episode of Doctor Who is called Dalek. Season 1, episode 6, our first introduction to the Daleks. And if I didn't say that this episode didn't tug on my heartstrings and kind of make me feel bad for the Daleks, I'm wrong. I'm a liar, because it definitely did. And before you say Daleks are bad, they have no sense of emotion and blah blah blah. True. But this one just pulled something in me. I don't know how to explain it. So, the information says the TARDIS is drawn to an alien museum deep below the Utah desert, where a ruthless billionaire keeps prisoner the last of the Doctor's most fearsome enemy, or so we think it's the last, and it's the Daleks. I used to have a Dalek Funko Pop, and it disappeared, and no one remembers me getting it. I don't have proof that I bought it, and it just disappeared. But anyway, excuse me. It starts off with the Doctor getting a distress signal on the TARDIS, and he follows it, of course. And he lands in a museum where he sees artifacts of, like, aliens and things that, in his gentle soul, should not be in a box, in a collector's item. And then the billionaire finds him and starts telling him about his one living specimen. And he's like, well, what is it? Show me. And he shows him. And the Doctor tells this thing, he doesn't know what it is at first because it's in a completely dark room. And he tells us this thing, I'm here to help. I'm the Doctor. And as soon as we hear the voice, we know. I didn't know because I hadn't watched the original Doctor Who at this time. But if you had, you know. It's a Dalek. And now we see when the lights come on and he's like, and it says the Doctor must be exterminated. We see that this Dalek is pretty beat up. It's got, like, its bumps, whatever they're called, are beat in, and it's dusty, and it looks honestly broken. And then there's a moment where it tries to exterminate the Doctor, and it can't. And the Doctor starts laughing hysterically because he's like the great universe duster, because it turns its victims to dust, is broken. Like, he starts busting out laughing, and he gets in his face, and he's like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Because you can't do anything. And I think this is a moment where you're like, why is the Doctor so mean? Unless you've seen the original, then you know. But if you didn't, he's not really being mean either. He's like feeling this sense of power over this monstrosity, in a sense, that could have killed him in 2.5 seconds. But this is also where we get a glimpse of the Doctor's past and a history lesson, so to speak. He starts bragging to the Dalek about how he killed, or about how tens of thousands of Daleks were killed, and like he set them on fire. He said he killed them. And he says, you killed us. And he's like, I watched it happen. He's like, you killed us. He goes, I had no choice. He freezes because, like, he's like, shit, I was just bragging about something that makes me look like a monster. And he's like, I had to. And it, like, I think the sense of realization hit him, like, oh, fuck. But I think in every season of Doctor Who that talks about the wars and talks about his past, it shows that he is traumatized by it. I don't know so much about anything after Peter Capaldi because I stopped watching after Matt Smith. I tried getting into Peter Capaldi, but he just pissed me off. And Jodie Whittaker pissed me off, and I haven't started a new one yet, so. But this first scene is also where we find out that the Doctor is the last of his kind. He says, the Dalek asked, what about the Time Lords? And he says that all of them. It was the last of it was part of, like, the Time Wars. They all died. Everyone. And in my head, knowing the future seasons, I'm just like, this Doctor, in his brain, his entire world is gone, and he doesn't even know, like. But this episode also shows the billionaire kidnapping the Doctor because he is the last of the Time Lords, so he's part of his collection now. And this billionaire is creepy, like, really fucking creepy. Like, you wouldn't trust him near your children type creepy. They don't actually show that, but I don't know. That's just what my brain gets. I also don't trust anyone. But he just gives off vibes that scream, I'll put you in a cage. Because he does. He literally does put people in a cage. Or not people, but anything he deems to be an alien in a cage. Now there's a moment between Rose and the Dalek, which is where I said we start to feel compassion for the Dalek, where he's like explaining that he's gonna die alone and that he has no he has nothing to, he's not to fear anymore. He's broken, and yet they still fear him. They keep him chained up and stuff. And then Rose makes a mistake and she touches him, and I don't know if this could have been anybody touching him and he would have done this, or if it was just something about her, because we do learn throughout this series that Rose is special. So I don't know. They never cleared this up for me. Maybe they did and I just don't remember. But she touches him and he like extracts her DNA and is able to kind of heal himself and come back and be powerful as fuck. Go back to a regular exterminating Dalek. Or so you think. So now here's something that I am conflicted about, because the Dalek gets out and he starts going on a rampage and killing these guards. Spoiler alert for the end of the episode, he ends up sacrificing himself, because I think, anyway, I'll get to that later, but we already know that there is some emotion in his brain chemistry, whatever you want to call it, in his sense of being. There is emotion, but we don't know. Well, like, what I think is he killed these people because they've held him captive this whole time, and that was just like his urge to get away, to kill them. And yes, he only wants to speak to the Doctor, probably to get his revenge for his entire race being destroyed. Phone. I am completely stupid. So I'm rewatching this episode as I'm doing the review, and in my head, he always sacrificed himself because that's what he said. I 1000% spaced it out, that the Doctor gave him the order to kill himself. What? I completely spaced that the fuck out. He says, the Dalek says, he can't find any other Daleks in the universe through searching the satellites, anything. He can't find any other Daleks. Where is he supposed to get his orders from now? The Doctor basically can't give him an answer because he doesn't tell him, he can't get his orders from. He's like, what's the point? And the Dalek goes, well, I'll revert back to my coding, basically, and self-destruct. And he's like, what's the point? There's no point. And the Dalek is like, what do I do? What do I do now? So the Doctor tells him to kill himself. I don't remember that at all. Now, the Dalek ends up going after Rose. And after the Doctor tells him to kill himself, he ends up going after Rose. And the Doctor can't get to her. And he's on the phone with her and he's like, please tell me you got out. Like, did you get out? She thinks she did, and then she realizes that the Dalek is behind her. So knowing that thinking that she's about to die, she tells the Doctor, it wasn't your fault. Just know that I wouldn't have traded this for the world. Like, I wouldn't have. Ow. My son is headbutting my fucking vagina right now, and it hurts. I am 29 weeks pregnant, and this little man is trying to escape. But anyway, I think it's such a beautiful moment that she's trying to comfort him in her last, or what she thinks are her last hours. Or minutes, seconds. So the thing is, he tries to kill Rose, and he can't. He feels her fear, he feels her emotion. I'm guessing because she's the one who touched him and brought him back. So he's trying to kill her, and he can't, which causes him to self-conflict, self-destruct, like, in his mind, because Daleks are not programmed to have emotion. Long story short, the Doctor explains how the Dalek is changing now because of Rose. He's turning into something new, and that's not a Dalek. The Dalek ends up sacrificing himself, and he dies. But before this, Rose explains to the Doctor he's changing, and he's not going to hurt anyone. And what are you changing into? Because he was so ready to kill this thing. And we see an emotional break for the Doctor. This is such a great episode. I love it, and I want to know your thoughts. Please comment, like, or subscribe, and let me know what you think.